Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the English Learning Podcast. My name is Jason, and I'm so happy to have you here today.
Hi everyone, I'm Julia, your co-host. We are excited to spend time with you and help you improve your English step by step.
Yes, and today's topic is very interesting. It's called Think Smart, Speak Fluent. Doesn't that sound great?
It really does. This topic is very important because many English learners want to speak fluently, but they don't always think about how their mind works before they speak.
Exactly. To speak fluent English, you don't just need words, you also need smart thinking. When you learn to think smart, you can express your ideas more clearly, more naturally, and with more confidence.
And don't worry, we are here to guide you. In this episode, we will talk about what Think Smart, Speak Fluent means, why it's important, common mistakes learners make, and how you can practice this every day.
That's right. So, stay with us until the end because we'll also give you a fun little challenge to practice at home.
Yes, so let's get started with our first part. What does Think Smart, Speak Fluent really mean?
All right, Julia, let's explain this phrase. Think smart, speak fluent. What do we really mean by that?
Good question. Many people think fluency means speaking very fast. But fluency is not just about speed, it's about speaking clearly, confidently, and in a way that other people can understand.
Exactly. And that's where thinking smart comes in. Thinking smart means you take a moment to organize your ideas in your head before you speak. You don't have to say long, difficult sentences. You just need to say your thoughts in a simple, smart way.
Yes, for example, if someone asks you, "What did you do yesterday?" you don't need to panic. You can think smart. Maybe break your answer into 3 small parts. I went to school. I studied English. I met my friend. That's smart thinking.
Right. And because you thought smart, you could answer fluently. You didn't stop too much. You didn't get stuck. You just spoke in a natural way.
So Think Smart, Speak Fluent is like a formula. First, think smart. Organize, keep it simple, choose easy words. Second, speak fluent. Say it clearly, confidently, and don't worry about being perfect.
I like that. Formula for success. Think first, then speak. It's not about being fast, it's about being clear.
And when you practice this, over time your English will sound more natural and you'll feel much more confident.
Exactly. So now that we know what it means, let's talk about why thinking is so important in English speaking. So Julia, now that we know what think smart, speak fluent means, let's talk about why thinking plays such a big role in speaking English.
Yes, Jason. You see, many learners focus only on words. They think, if I know many English words, I can speak fluently, but actually it's not just about words, it's about how you use them.
That's true. If your mind is not clear, even if you know many words, you might get stuck. For example, sometimes learners try to translate every single word from their native language into English. That makes them slow and nervous.
Exactly. Smart thinking helps you avoid that. Instead of translating word by word, you start to think directly in English. That way, your brain doesn't get confused.
Right. And thinking smart also helps you to simplify. For example, if you want to say, I had an amazing, unforgettable experience at the beautiful beach yesterday with my close friends. You don't have to say it all like that if it feels difficult.
Yes, you can think smart and make it simple. Yesterday, I went to the beach with my friends. It was great. That's clear, natural, and fluent.
I love that example. It shows that smart thinking is not about using big words or long sentences. It's about making your ideas easy to understand.
And here's another point. Thinking smart gives you confidence. When your brain has a simple plan for what to say, you don't feel lost. You feel ready to speak.
So, the role of thinking in English is very powerful. It helps you speak faster, feel more confident, and sound more natural.
Exactly, and this is something every learner can practice step by step.
That's right. And speaking of practice, let's look at some common mistakes learners make when they try to think and speak in English. So, Julia, now that we know why thinking is so important in English, let's talk about the common mistakes learners make. Because if we understand the mistakes, we can fix them.
That's right. One very common mistake is overthinking before speaking. Many learners try to plan the perfect sentence in their head. They think too much about grammar, about using big words, about sounding perfect.
Yes, and because they overthink, they get stuck. Sometimes they even stay silent because they are afraid of making a mistake.
Exactly. Another mistake is memorizing full sentences without understanding. Some learners memorize dialogues from books or videos, but when the situation changes, they don't know how to respond.
That's true. For example, if you memorize, "Hello, how are you?" "I'm fine, thank you," it works in one situation. But if someone asks, "How's it going?" or "What's up?" you may feel lost because you didn't learn how to think smartly in the moment.
Yes, a third mistake is translating word for word from your first language. This can make your sentences sound strange or sometimes even wrong.
Exactly. I know many learners who think in their own language, then try to change each word into English. That takes too much time, and often the grammar doesn't fit.
And another big mistake is fear of mistakes. Many learners believe they must be perfect before speaking, so they wait and never get the practice they need.
Yes, I agree. But here's the truth. Making mistakes is part of learning. Even native speakers make mistakes sometimes. What matters is expressing your idea clearly, not being perfect.
That's a very important point. So, to summarize, the four big mistakes are overthinking, memorizing without understanding, translating word for word, and fearing mistakes.
Exactly. And the good news is, we can fix these mistakes by training our mind to think smart.
Yes, and that's exactly what we'll talk about next. How to train your mind to think smart before you speak.
All right, Julia. Now comes the big question. How can learners actually train their mind to think smart in English?
Good question, Jason. The first step is practice small, simple sentences every day. Don't wait for big, complex ideas. Start with short, clear thoughts like "I like tea" or "Today is sunny." This helps your brain get used to thinking directly in English.
That's true. And another tip is use keywords instead of full sentences in your mind. For example, if you want to talk about your weekend, think of three keywords like park, friends, food. Then, when you speak, your mind can build sentences naturally. "I went to the park. I met my friends. We ate food together."
Yes, that way you're not memorizing or translating. You're guiding your mind with keywords.
Another good exercise is self-talk. You can talk to yourself in English during the day. For example, when you're cooking, say, "I am cutting vegetables. I am cooking rice." This simple habit trains your mind to think smart and stay in English mode.
That's a great one. And one more tip: don't rush. Take a small pause before speaking. Even 1 or 2 seconds can help your brain organize the thought. Pausing is smart thinking, not a weakness.
Exactly. So, to train your mind, use small sentences, think in keywords, practice self-talk, and don't be afraid to pause. These small steps can make a huge difference over time.
Yes. And once you start training your brain this way, speaking fluently in real conversations becomes much easier.
Which brings us to our next part. How to speak fluently in real conversations. Okay, Julia, now that learners know how to train their mind to think smart, let's talk about how they can actually use this in real conversations.
Yes, because practicing alone is good, but speaking with real people is where fluency really grows.
Exactly. One important tip is to use simple words and short sentences. Many learners try to use big, complicated words to sound smart, but that often makes them slower.
Right. Fluency is not about using the most difficult words, it's about being clear and natural. For example, instead of saying, I endeavor to consume nourishment, just say, I want to eat.
Haha. Yes, much easier. Another tip is to use pauses naturally. You don't have to speak without stopping. Native speakers pause too. Pausing shows confidence and gives you time to think.
That's true. Also, pay attention to your tone and rhythm. If you speak with energy and expression, even simple sentences sound fluent.
Good point. Maybe we can show a short role play to our listeners.
Great idea. Let's do a simple example. Jason, ask me about my weekend.
All right. Julia, what did you do last weekend?
I went shopping on Saturday. I bought a new bag. On Sunday, I stayed home and watched a movie. It was relaxing.
Perfect. That was fluent because you used short sentences. You paused and you spoke clearly. You didn't try to make one long, difficult sentence.
Yes, and I used simple words that everyone can understand. That's what fluency is all about.
Exactly. So, when you're in a real conversation, remember, simple words, short sentences, natural pauses, and clear tone. That's how you speak fluently.
And the more you practice this with friends, classmates, or even with yourself, the more natural it will become.
Yes! And now, let's give our listeners some tips for building smart and fluent habits every day. All right, Julia, now that we've seen how to speak fluently in real conversations, let's share some daily tips that can help learners build smart and fluent habits.
Yes, the first tip is read a little every day. It doesn't have to be a whole book. Even a short article, a story, or some English subtitles while watching a show can help. Reading gives you new ideas and words to think with.
That's a good one. And here's another. Listen and summarize. When you listen to a podcast, song, or short video, try to summarize it in 1 or 2 sentences. This trains your brain to think smart and express ideas simply.
Exactly. A third tip is speak with a friend or practice self-talk. Even if you don't have a speaking partner, you can talk to yourself. For example, describe what you're doing. I am making tea. I am washing the dishes. It's simple, but it trains your fluency.
Yes, and I would add, make English part of your daily life. Change your phone language to English, write short notes in English, or even think in English for a few minutes each day.
That's a powerful one, because when English becomes part of your routine, it doesn't feel like a subject. You live with it.
So, to sum up, read a little, listen and summarize, practice self-talk, and make English part of daily life. These small habits build smart thinking and fluent speaking over time.
Yes, and when learners follow these habits, they can see real progress even in just a few weeks.
Exactly. And speaking of progress, let's share some motivation and real-life stories to inspire our listeners. Julia, I think one of the best ways to encourage our listeners is to share real-life examples. Do you have a story in mind?
Yes, I do. I remember a student named Anna. When she first started learning English, she was very shy. She wanted every sentence to be perfect, so she often stayed quiet.
Oh, yes. I know many learners who feel the same way.
Exactly. But then Anna started practicing Think Smart, Speak Fluent. She stopped trying to translate everything. Instead, she began using simple words and short sentences. For example, instead of worrying about grammar, she would just say, "I like music. I listen every day."
That's a great change. So, how did it help her?
Well, after a few months, Anna became more confident. She could join small conversations with her classmates. Even though her English was not perfect, people understood her, and that gave her more confidence.
That's inspiring. And it shows an important truth. You don't need to be perfect to be fluent. You just need to be clear and confident.
Yes, and I think many of our listeners can learn from Anna's story. Small steps and smart thinking can lead to big results.
I agree. And listeners, remember this. Fluency is a journey. Every mistake is a step forward. Every small practice makes you better.
Exactly. So don't give up and don't be afraid of mistakes. Think smart, speak fluent, and you will grow with time.
Well said, Julia. Now, let's give our listeners a small practice challenge so they can try this method at home. All right, listeners, now it's your turn. We want to give you a small challenge to practice Think Smart, Speak Fluent.
Yes, here's what you can do. Pick one simple topic. For example, my weekend, my favorite food, or my daily routine.
Step 1. Think Smart. Write down 3 simple keywords about your topic. For example, if your topic is my weekend, your keywords could be park, friend, pizza.
Step 2. Speak fluent. Use those 3 keywords to make short sentences. For example, I went to the park. I met my friend. We ate pizza.
That's it. Simple, smart, and fluent.
And here's an extra tip. Record yourself speaking, then listen to it. You will notice where you sound fluent and where you can improve.
Yes, and don't worry if it's not perfect. The goal is to train your brain to think smart and express ideas clearly.
So, are you ready for the challenge? Choose a topic, write 3 keywords, and speak 3 sentences. Easy and fun.
Great. And now, let's wrap up today's episode with some final thoughts. All right, Julia. That brings us to the end of today's episode.
Yes, today we learned how to think smart, speak fluent. We talked about what it means, why thinking is important, common mistakes, how to train your mind, and practical tips for fluency.
And don't forget our little challenge. Pick a topic, think of 3 keywords, and speak 3 simple sentences. Practice a little every day, and you will see progress.
Remember, listeners, fluency is not about perfection. It's about thinking clearly, speaking confidently, and practicing regularly.
Absolutely. And we hope today's episode inspired you to start thinking smart and speaking fluent English.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Keep practicing, stay motivated, and we'll see you in the next episode of the English Learning Podcast.
Bye, everyone, and happy English learning!